I hope we just come out and throttle UNI, have Brees have a Heisman type start of the season, and just shut up all the critics and Iowa fans and all those people. I'm just ready for it, and I'm ready to watch it with 62,000 of my best friends, and let's get lit.
Well, time for the UNI preview. It's finally game week, I guess. Right, Thomas?
Yes, sir. We're
finally
2 days out.
2 more highlights to go. Is that what you got to
Yep.
do for your Twitter feed?
Yep, we got 2 highlights I've been doing for 140 days or so.
Shout out to the guy that was mad about the the Kane return. When did you use that one? Like May or June or something? Yeah, it was a long time ago.
Yeah.
At least somebody's paying attention.
It would help if our former teams had a lot more highlights, or if the games were Seneca games or the Troy Davis days were actually on TV, so we'd actually have highlights.
Yeah, we got to find somebody that's got a videotape or a DVD of some of that stuff somewhere. I mean,
yeah, I feel like Cyclones.tv has a bunch of those, but they just hold on to them because they're so rare, and they just use them for montages and stuff.
Well, they're probably in the Smithsonian.
Yeah. Well, anyways, we got top 10 team. That's pretty cool, right, Michael?
Pretty cool. Almost a top 5 team.
Right. Could be after Saturday.
That would be insane. Top 5 Iowa State team versus a top 10 Iowa team if Iowa beats the crap out of Indiana.
Yeah.
And
I just hope they both win. But been doing this too long. You know that the UNI game is not going to go like everybody envisions. I mean, when you saw offshore spread is 34.5.
Yeah,
that's crazy. That's insane.
Have we ever
I would probably hammer UNI.
Yeah, right.
But also, this is a different team. This is a different circumstance. UNI played already in the spring. They really didn't have an off season, so
no.
And I feel like we will come out and just beat the living crap out of them. I hope so, because it might be a come down on the Fiesta Bowl celebration and just being in front of fans for the first time and how many months it's been.
Campbell said that on the press conference, is that they're going to have to adjust to it. I mean, it was interesting. I don't know if either one of you guys listened to his press conference, but he was really introspective about the Louisiana game last year.
Yeah.
Saying he was standing there, because I don't even know what this is because there was no fans, and he said he was just mad at himself he didn't think he did a very good job of preparing the kids for the lack of fans, and now it's going to be the opposite, where you got kids running out on the field with 60,000 people, some of them for the first time, and a couple of these true freshmen, they're going to run out there, and I think he didn't say this, but he's just going to try to keep the wetting the pants to a minimum for some of them.
This will be the first time Sheem Young gets a full capacity. There's so many players, key players that never played in front of Jack Trice, and then it's just weird how Campbell sold Iowa State, and then there's just been a buffer of, oh, this is what Cyclone Nation looks like. This is what a tailgate looks like, and it'll be interesting to see.
Looks like the weather's going to be really nice, so there's going to be a lot of full Kaibos.
Yeah.
By the time we get to game time, because I bet you the first tailgate is going to start at 7 o'clock.
It opens at 7.
Yeah, I mean, but there's going to, your uncle is going to camp there Friday night, so there's going to be people there earlier than that.
So, what do you want to see from this game, Michael? Me and you have been to so many UNI games where we get pumped up, and obviously this is a way different circumstance and way different teams. But we get pumped up, and we don't show it in the first couple games. What do you want to see from Iowa State?
I don't know. I think the last couple of years, the one knock on Campbell you probably have is week 1, we never look good. I think our offense is always a little sloppy. We kind of handcuff the playbook a little bit because we don't want to show anything. But what I want is a 3-and-out if we are starting defense. And if we start on offense, I want to score in less than 8 plays. I think we don't need to mess around and let them hang around until the second, third quarter. Run with Brees until they can stop it. When they stop it, do a play action pass, hit one of our many weapons. I just think this is kind of like a take care of business game. It's going to be crazy. The first quarter is going to be, the energy is going to be probably something we haven't seen in a really long time, just because we have a year of a lot of people are pent up. There's been a lot of ups and downs for everyone. And I think it's just going to be a really fun environment to be in. But I just want the players, hopefully, I mean, they're going to be jacked, but they just need to calm down, take care of business. I'd like to see I guess one thing to watch, I think there's probably going to be a lot of penalties in the first quarter just because, like, I don't know, these players haven't had to deal with noise and with snap counts and communication. Like, I think there's going to be people jumping off sides, jumping off, doing false starts, which is, I think, just part of it. But I just think roll with that and just take care of business and beat them by 4 touchdowns and move on to the next week.
So is 28-7 good enough?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
I don't think
it's good. I don't think
21-0 at halftime, and I just want to see Hunter Deckers throwing it to Darian Porter in the fourth quarter.
I think some people think 28-7 is not good enough. I mean, I think UNI's defense is going to be a lot better than people give them credit for. Their offense is a little suspect, but they've got some guys that have been coaching there a long time. Coach Farley is, gets every kid that Iowa and Iowa State, consider them possibly borderline. So, I just am I've been around this too long. I'm just tempering my enthusiasm as far as what the final score is going to be. I don't want on your wedding day when we had the overtime game. We don't need that. We don't need a field goal to win it at the end. But I honestly don't think it's going to be 42-7. I mean, I just can't see that. First of all, I don't see.
I don't know. I mean,
if Campbell's got
all the years, this is. Sorry.
Nope. Go ahead.
Of all the years, this is the year, though. I mean, we have a legitimate top 25 offensive line. We have the best running back in the country, and we have a senior quarterback who's played for 4 years. Like, if there's ever a year that we were finally just take care of UNI and not have any anxiety, this is the year.
I think it was. I think if it was anybody but UNI, I would be more apt to think that. But it's UNI. Nobody's talking about UNI, so UNI kids are carrying that chip on their shoulder. You got a bunch of Iowa kids that probably think that Iowa State didn't think they were good enough to play for them. You know what I mean? I mean, they're going to play those cards to death. So,
but we also have
we are fine. We're talented top to bottom. And our like a full 2 deep. Like,
oh right, yeah.
We'll probably dive into the depth chart here in a little bit, but like you look at every position, we're like, holy crap! If this player played 10 years ago, there's 20 players that would have been the best player on the team.
Right. Yeah.
There's so many, like, we have an offensive line that's like up for reward, like preseason rewards. Like, look how far we've come with that. Like last year,
look at our offensive line 2 deep.
Yeah, I know. Joey Ramos started like 6 games. Now he's the backup center. It's just like crazy. Like, he was such a big time recruit too, coming out from Arizona, and Campbell just stacked the deck. And there's this I can't remember his name, the freshman behind Sean Foster who was pushing for his spot. The kid that
Miller.
Yeah, Miller.
He's pushing for the left tackle.
Yeah, left tackle.
Yeah, I mean
a freshman.
I have a source that just told me today that he thinks he's going to start.
Oh, really?
If not Saturday, it'll be by the end of the year.
He's like 6'9", 320.
Yeah, your brother played AAU basketball with his brother. So I mean, I've seen his family, and they are the prototypical Iowa farm kid. I mean, he is the kind of guy that Iowa has had forever, and now we've got one. And I would love to see him have an unbelievable career because he's got a great family. He's a small town kid. He's one of those farm guys like the other ones. I mean, he's
how special you have to be to try to like closely beat out the first team left tackle Big 12, Sean Foster, before even the season starts. That's just the amount of talent that Campbell's getting in here secretly. That obviously, like the 5-star culture, we get in like the 3 stars that they build into first Big 12 talent, and it's just surreal.
Yeah, Tyler Miller is the kid from Jefferson area that is this freshman that we're talking about. But the guy that I talked to today said we're 6 to 8 deep, easy on the offensive line, which we've never.
Our best offensive lineman didn't play last year.
Right. Yeah. So
and like just to think maybe
Breece Hall ran for 1,600 yards in 10 games,
and Robert Hudson was has had an up and down career, but he's 3rd on the depth chart.
Yeah, it's just a very weird time because like there's so many distractions. Like Iowa State fans can't enjoy it, obviously, because every ESPN article that comes out is like, oh, because like the last 3 weeks, let's just break it down. The realignment crap, we're not going to dive deep back into it, but it just seems like the national media is just throwing us shots all day. Like Campbell, like the articles like, oh, where's Campbell going to leave since the Big 12 realignment stuff? Like, how many times why can't we just enjoy, like actually look into the season or actually dive deep into who Campbell is? They don't actually dive deep like, oh, Campbell's stayed here for less money and actually given money to his assistants so they don't go to better job, like MAC jobs. They can stay at Iowa State and build a culture that Campbell wants. But the national media just ignores that for the most part, and I hope we just come out and throttle UNI, have Brees have a Heisman type start of the season, and just shut up all the critics and Iowa fans and all those people. I'm just ready for it, and I'm ready to watch it with 62,000 of my best friends, and let's get lit.
Well, I mean, I think you need to. The national media is never going to change. The national media is never going to change. I mean,
I don't know. I think that this is the first time where they're Iowa State might be onto something. They're holding on to the whole Iowa State's irrelevant as much as possible, but they're at least watching us, and I think this is kind of going to be a really good opportunity to really show just more than just the Big 12 fan base that Iowa State's a really special place and has the fan base is can go up with anyone. I think.
Oh yeah.
Everyone talks about the top 5 teams every year, but the 6th team this year is us. 10 years ago, 5 years ago, we never thought this was possible. So it's just going to be cool. Like Thomas said, we're talented, legit talented at almost every position, probably every position. In the last 4 years, we've been winning with superior coaching. We have one of the, legitimately one of the best coaching staffs in the country. And we've beat Oklahoma 2 out of the last 4 times, who was more talented top to bottom, arguably, is probably aside from Brees. But we've beaten them and we've hung with them every single time we've played with less talent. Now I think the talent gap is as thin as it's ever been. So it's just going to be cool to see the combination of our insanely excellent coaching staff with now a very, very talented and deep roster.
I'm also anxious to see some of these guys that we really haven't seen. I mean, J.R. Singleton stands out to me. I mean, he beat out Isaiah Lee. I mean, and we talked about Isaiah Lee in this podcast before, how impressive he was. So
he's a stud.
J.R. Singleton must be legit too. I mean, Jalen Knoll, a guy that likes our T-shirts, is possibly going to be the kickoff returner. So I mean, it's going to be interesting to see some of these names that we've heard. But I think we're also going to learn some names of guys that may stand out all of a sudden because they got thrown into a role, whether it's an injury, God forbid, or something like that. So I mean.
Well, that's the thing. We've gradually kind of increased our talent as far as recruiting over the last 3 years of Campbell. And the senior group this year is really good. They're really solid. And you just look at face value, kind of what the media is doing. Iowa State was good last year, won the Fiesta Bowl. They have 20 of 22 starters. So it's obvious they're going to be good again. But those 20 starters might not even be starting this year.
Right. Yeah.
And that's what's crazy, because if you replace someone with a 18, 19-year-old kid has NFL talent now, we won the Fiesta Bowl last year, but it's not that crazy to think that we could potentially win the Big 12 again and vie for a big playoff spot. So I just think I think people are gonna be really surprised when there's names out there. They're gonna look at the depth chart, wait, what? Who is this Amos kid? Who's TJ Tampa? Who's Jalen Knoll? Who's Miles Purchase? All these super talented kids that no one's heard about, that everyone's talking about, the seniors that are coming back. Yeah. But at the end of the year, that might not even be the storyline.
Why don't we go down the list of the depth chart? I've got it in front of me and go to position by position, and real quick, because there's going to be names people haven't heard of before. Quarterback's easy, is Brock and Hunter. We don't need to beat that to death. Running back, who's starting there. You know who the second one is. Jarrell is going to be second. Eli Sanders is another one. That's really talented.
Deion Silas. I think those people will have they'll have situations where they're really helpful.
Yeah, and Eli's a freshman, and so is Dion.
Yeah.
Go to tight end. Easton Dean is the one we really haven't seen. The other ones are known commodities. Jared
But
Russ.
Easton Dean has hype. Matt Campbell said last year he might be the best one.
Right.
He said that last year.
He didn't say he was. I mean, those other guys are really smart. I really wonder where he stands on the classroom side of it, because I know the other guys are engineers too. But Jared Russ and Steve O'Klotz Steve O'Klotz is a freshman, both a fullback, guy that most people haven't heard of. And then when you go to the receiver core, we've got Tariq, Xavier, Sean Shaw. All of those guys have seen and caught passes for us before. Jalen Knoll, true freshman at Kansas City. That we know who he is. Some other people might not. Darian Porter has been around. I think it's a name that people have heard before. But the same guy I talked to today also said Joe Skates is going to have a huge role this year. So it'll be kind of fun to see him have a breakout year too.
I think Joe Skates has the highest ceiling of anyone in our receiver room. I know Xavier had a great year last year and is a really good receiver, but from what I've heard and friends that I have within the program is like when Joe Skates figures it out, this kid does some crazy, crazy stuff. And it's just things you can't teach. So I think he's been here 3 years. Campbell obviously has poured a lot into him and really, really values him. So I think it's going to be really cool to see if Joe can put it together this year. And I know, I think last year, one of the knocks on us is we didn't have dynamic people at receiver. Xavier was pretty consistent, but if Joe Skates is this guy that can stretch the field and kind of dominate possessions at times, kind of like CD Lamb did for Oklahoma, that's just something we haven't had probably since Hakeem Butler. But I think Joe is just different than any receiver we've had. So I really, really hope he has a good year.
How tall was Hakeem?
Hakeem was 6'5",
6'6".
6'6". Yeah, that's Skates was came in as a freshman. Obviously, was I think he's the third highest recruit we've ever gotten. Ever. And we just assumed that he's just going to come in and be Hakeem Butler's replacement. But people forget, it took Hakeem Butler a while to him to grow into what he was, because.
Yeah, I mean, his sophomore year, he was the second, third option to Allen. He had a good year because Allen had all the attention, and then obviously his junior year he had a really good year. But you're right, he didn't come in and light the world on fire.
Well, the reason I asked about Hakeem is that we talked about. Remember, Hakeem always looked like a man amongst boys. He's just so tall. I mean, Sean Shaw is 6'6", also. Darren Porter 6'4". So I mean, still have big. I mean, like what Lane said the other day when he was on here, he was telling me how big we are. I mean, You go down the list and start looking at the measurements of these guys. I mean, these are some. Easton Dean is 6'6", for crying out loud. I mean, these are big kids.
Chase Allen's 6'7".
Right. Yeah.
Chase Allen's been here for a long time, and he has been just rock solid the entire time he's been here.
It's a redshirt freshman.
And I didn't realize his little brother played for UNI.
Chase Allen's does?
Yes. So, their dad coached at UNI too. So, I mean, they've got a strong connection between both schools. It'd be interesting to see which jersey the parents are wearing in the crowd tomorrow or Saturday, though. I've said for decades that our offensive line is the key every year, and I think it's been true. We've had one good beginning core, and then we get one injury, and you can go down the list. Farniak's injury, all the other years where we've had an injury that's changed the game. The fact that we're this deep on our offensive line is probably the most exciting thing to me. I mean, if you go to left tackle, the Miller kid is pushing Sean Foster. So left tackle is listed as 6'8", 325, and 6'9", 320 as a redshirt freshman. Then the left guard is Trevor Downing and Jared Hufford, who's a redshirt sophomore, both 310, 6'4", 6'5". And then Colin Newell, we know who he is. We know who Jerry Ramos is at center. Then you got on the right guard, they're listing Schweiger, Simmons, and Hudson. All three have
played last year.
Right. All three have played. And then
Simmons is my favorite. Simmons,
I did too. He had a great year.
Just a stud. Especially the Oklahoma game. He just absolutely murdered it. As a freshman, he was a freshman last year, right?
Correct. Yep.
Yeah, and he just came out and man.
I was thinking, he might be a redshirt. He was a redshirt freshman. So he's a redshirt sophomore this year.
Because last
Thomas, you're right. Like that, he was a huge difference because whenever we ran to his side, like those were the runs that Brees broke 10, 15 yards.
Yeah, just that game sticks out to me for Simmons. Like just to come out and you're playing against Oklahoma, like these 5-star studs, and you don't back down as a freshman. That's pretty exciting for the future.
Right. Yeah, so I mean, I think we're set.
That's just the crazy thing is we don't have to be extremely schemeful to find running lanes. Like there can be times you can just run a zone run and know that your guys are going to be better and they're going to open up holes for Brees to run through. So it's going to be exciting. I think that'll become relevant in the Iowa game where like just historically Iowa has totally dominated us on both sides of the ball as far as the offensive defensive lines. Like it's never been closer than this year. So I think that's just going to be really refreshing and fun to watch.
Every time I watch the first game, I always watch the push on the offensive line on the first series. I remember many UNI games
it's just like
where it's a stalemate. And I said, oh, here we go. So if that happens again Saturday, you just don't watch where the ball's at. Just watch if our offensive line is getting a push, and that'll tell you a lot about whether this is going to go the way we want to or not, or it's going to be a dogfight.
But we've also obviously talked at length of the depth at offensive line. But if the guys come out there that aren't doing that, they can just get benched.
Right, yeah.
Before then, they were the only ones we had, because like the backups were like 40 pounds lighter than our starters. So
it's kind of like Ryan said when Ryan was playing. Ryan was an outside linebacker, and then all of a sudden he became the best option at nose guard at 245. That's not the case anymore. We don't have to move a safety to D-line because we have an injury or something. I mean, we've got that's probably the most exciting part to me anyway about the whole thing.
I think it's just been such a long wait.
Yeah.
Like last year was super fun, but it was just like kind of always just like wait till next year till fans, like we just wait till fans are back. Like we're 2 days away now from like having a sold out Jack Trice.
Especially last year, it was game to game or games just got canceled on the day sometimes. So like, how do you get excited for a game that you know that could be canceled 2 hours before the game? So now, obviously, COVID's still around, but it looks like most of our teams vaccinated. Hopefully, that's not an issue, obviously, but it would be nice to not have to think about that and just go out and know there's a game. And now go back to when only weather was our issue. Now, like of tailgating, that only being our issue, hopefully is coming back, and hopefully the luck goes our way not from the 2019 season where the grass lots were only open for 3 games, and one of them was the Iowa game where it rained the whole day.
Yeah, I checked the forecast this morning, and it was a 40% chance of rain earlier in the week, and they changed that, so it wasn't on the forecast for Ames this morning. Yeah. I haven't looked this afternoon, so fingers crossed we can get an 80-degree sunny day. That would be perfect. So if we go to the defense, we got Will McDonald, who everybody hopes has a breakout year. I mean, but then he has Bailey after him too, who everybody's talking about, who's a redshirt senior, who gives us another option there.
He's been injured, so
right. So
we don't really know how good he is, but assuming him being even on the 2 deep, he's going to be pretty darn good.
So I'm just going to read these names off. This is the 2 deep on the defense, and you know almost every name. If you're an Iowa State fan, you know who these guys are. This is end, McDonald Bailey. Tackle, Ennie and Tucker Robertson. Nose guard, J.R. Singleton, who I don't really know because he's a redshirt freshman, and Isaiah Lee. End, Zach Peterson, Corey Suttle. Possibly don't really know what he is, but he's a 6'4", 280 redshirt sophomore. Hummel and Deshaun Davis, who I've heard good things about. Ryan Vance and Gary Vaughn, Mike Rose and Eric Horn. Isheem Young, don't need to say anything about him. Obviously, we know who it is. But these are the ones that I've also heard. Their safeties are really big and really good on the 2 deep, not the ones you've heard of. Isheem, Greg Eisworth, obviously you know who these are. We've got Verdell Edwards is listed right behind Isheem at 6'1", 210. Behind him is a 6'2", 205 true freshman. Then on the behind Eisworth is Craig McDonald, a 6'3", 210 redshirt freshman. So these D-backs are not your D-backs of old. These are big kids.
And Mason Chambers, who played in the entire second half of the Big 12 championship game, is not even on the 2 deep, and he would be our main safety in any other year. But it's just absolutely nuts how a talented kid like that, who's going to obviously be a stud down the line, gets buried on the depth chart, and we'll obviously see him this year. But it's just that just excites the hell out of me.
Yeah, there's King, Amos, and Morgan are listed at free safety, and then Anthony Johnson, TJ Tampa is the one I've also heard huge things about. He's a true sophomore. DJ Miller is a junior. He's in the third in that position. Then right corner is Datron Young, Tavon Kyle. Both played a lot last year. Tavon Kyle is listed as the second one, and then it's Miles Purchase.
Yeah. Gatorade Player of the Year.
Right. Third string true freshman.
Any other recruiting class, he would be the main guy. Holy crap, we got Miles Purchase. How do you become a Gatorade Player of the Year as a cornerback? Come on. True freshman. Yeah.
Michael, you just look like we just opened a present at Christmas.
Crazy. No, do we know who's starting a kicker yet?
I don't want to talk about kicker. We have to talk about the kicker again.
Yeah.
Well, they've listed Connor Sally, and it says or Andrew Mavis. That's the kid from Fordham. And Fordham.
If we could get touchback on Saturday, that place is going to go absolutely insane.
It'll be the sarcastic cheer of the year.
Everyone agrees that we're going to do that already. They've been talking about it for months.
It's going to be a squib kick. You know that.
Yeah.
They're going to do that.
We'll start the season out with a kick out of bounds.
Oh, let's not be that way. But yeah, so we got a lot of things. We got a lot of things to be excited about, no doubt.
So let's just go around. Who's your player that you're most looking forward to seeing improve or not improve, just to see out in action again? Who we miss obviously seeing that will. Yeah.
Go ahead, Michael.
Yeah. Do you want to do one for each side of the ball?
Sure.
So I think for offense, it's tough. I mean, there's just so many names where you just go down the list. You're like, gosh, there's so many people that we're not talking about at all. Chase Allen, he's been really good for 4 years. Don't hear much about him. But I think the guy for me, I think Jarrell Brock. I think
that's who I was going to say.
As highly touted as Breece Hall coming out of high school. Breece enrolled early. Jarrell didn't. So I don't think the talent gap between those two is as big or as people think, especially nationally. So I think it's just going to be really cool to see the difference in running styles and just kind of what different looks we can do with him. If you go back and watch the games, Jarrell is an absolutely fantastic pass protector. There's just times where if you just watch him, he makes some play saving blocks. But I think he's going to be just more involved running the ball and probably catching the ball out of the backfield. So I just think it'll be interesting to see how different the offense looks, just because obviously Kene is obviously very different than Breece, just because he is way faster than anyone else on the field. And you can see that while he's pushing for the backup role with the Vikings right now. So I just think he's the guy I'm really cheering for. I just know it's a tough spot where you come in the same class as one kid, Breece, being in the Heisman conversation. So it's hard, obviously, to argue against playing time for Jarrell, but I just hope he has some validation this year. And then is assuming Breece goes to the NFL after this year, will be a bright building block for the next year.
Yeah, I'd say I'm really interested to see how Tree comes back from injury. It's one guy who got a shout out on College Game Day actually last weekend by Desmond Howard, which just kind of shocked me because no one's really talking about people, the hardcore Iowa State fans, but the outer scheme things. Just look back at the Texas game. He changes the offense with them being out there. God love Landon Akers. He's on the practice squad for the Rams.
Congratulations to him.
Yeah, congrats. Who just to look how much that's changed. Our culture put a guy who only scored one touchdown in his whole 6-year career. He's going to make hundreds of thousands of dollars in the NFL. That's insane to me. Shout out to him. That's awesome.
Great for him. I mean, happy for the kid. He gets to chase his dream.
Yeah, and that being said, Tariq Milton brings something totally different from Landon Akers. He's just faster and can run better routes. And obviously, like the first Purdy game, like that season, Tariq Milton was just there with. If Brock didn't have Tariq Milton, I'm not sure Brock that year is as successful as he was, because he opened up for Akeem. Hopefully that can be Hutchinson or Skates, and him in the middle and this Jalen Noe kid. It's just going to be very exciting to see how our offense even evolves even more. So, like, to distract them to seeing us having the best running back in the nation also.
That's also interesting because, like, with all those names you said, like, we actually have different packages. We can just run out an entire new receiving core, and we're not necessarily giving up anything. We're just giving him a different look. Where in the past, we're like, I'm sorry, but like Landon Akers was Hakeem Butler's backup at one point. Like when you took Hakeem Butler off of Landon Akers, like it was just a little less things the defense had to worry about. It's like this time around, like Daniel Jackson's another guy that played last year, got hurt, unfortunately, but like he showed signs that he could be really good too. So like you said, there's just a ton of talent in the receiver room, and it'll be interesting to see just totally changing packages by subbing 4 out and 4 in will be actually effective this year.
And my defense one, I'll just say.
Can I do an offensive one?
Yeah, sure.
Oh. So, because I was actually going to say Gerald Brock, but I really, again, going to harp on the offensive line. I just want to see some pancakes. I want to see some of our guys put a purple jersey on their back or a white jersey, whatever they're wearing, and do it like a line should against an FCS opponent. That's not taking anything away from UNI, but I think that would purge a lot of demons for people that really like to watch the offensive line.
I think one thing too with the offensive line is like last year, our offensive line played really well. We're really young, and they did not get an off season with Coach Andrews.
Right. Yeah, I think that's
like they had a full off season with Coach Andrews this year. Like
we could do a whole podcast on that. Yeah.
Daryl Simmons was good as a freshman. Now he's had a full off season where I'm just excited to see what the results of that were.
I was going to bring this up later, but you kind of transitioned into it. If you listen to the press conference, we've talked to Todd Blythe, Seneca, and Bruce Reimers about nutrition. I've brought it up to all three of them, how big of a difference it is today versus then. And that is one thing Campbell said in his press conference, that one of the biggest changes from his first day on campus till now is that we actually have a really dedicated nutrition wing of our program where kids are getting food. And I think if you've seen a picture of Breece Hall or any of these other guys, it's working. Our new strength coach and the fact that we're feeding these kids what athletes should be fed is making a huge difference. And that translates into healthier people too. And so I'm thinking that hopefully, knock on wood, that translates into fewer injuries. We didn't have a ton last year, but I think the fact that we've gotten that part of the thing, the winning in the dark thing, is that what that is? That's not sexy, but man, does that make a difference. I'm still blown away that Bruce Reimers told us when he played that his 6'9", 320-pound guy, or 6'7", 320-pound guy, or whatever he weighed, was given $5 on Sunday night to go get a pizza, and that's the only food that they would give the football team. That's just crazy to me. So, I think we're going to see the benefits of the offseason with, like what you said, Michael, with the strength coach come to fruition here.
And just
also shout out Trevor.
Shout out Trevor Ryan. And also another thing that really no one's talked about at all is Breece Hall went from being a freshman, obviously was a stud as a freshman, didn't have an offseason with the Andrews, a true sophomore, 6th of the Heisman. Didn't have any offseason with the Dave Andrews who made Aaron Donald. Had no strength and conditioning. Obviously, they probably did stuff at home. But just to think.
Oh, you just lost your mic.
What?
No, I couldn't hear you. I can't hear me or can hear you. There we go. All right, sorry.
Yeah, just to think that Breece, as a true sophomore, with what I just said, 6th in the Heisman, that's just incredible.
And you look at the list, like some people have Brees as out of the top 5 in running backs in the country.
It just doesn't. Yeah, it just.
That's not even. Yeah, that's
some don't even have the best in the conference.
That's just like the way the polls are. I mean, I hate the polls because those like the coaches poll, they're having a GA fill that out. It's not the head coach filling that out, and that's why some of these writers just don't pay attention. That's just the way it is.
But like, how much merit do we even have to put in these things? We know these people that are doing it are just like journalists who never played a down of football, or they're just geeks who just went to their alumni who went to Texas. Obviously, like, oh, that Texas guy looks jacked, and on the picture, you just put him at number top 5. Just there's so many like just clicks, and Iowa State fans are emotional right now because of the Big 12 and the disrespect, and they want clicks for their website.
I think you are too.
Yeah,
let's be honest.
But they just want clicks for the website. These dying businesses just want clicks, and that's all it is.
Well, that's the way it is with the internet in general. But, I mean, that's the way that a lot of journalists are trying to keep their jobs, is figuring out a way to get somebody to click on it, because that's the way it is. I mean, when you click on it, it sells advertising, and so that's just the world we live in today. That's why you have to be real careful with social media and Twitter and everything else, because some people are just going to bait you into something.
Yeah, that's a whole different podcast.
All right, let's talk about the defense.
All right, the defense.
Who's the guy you're looking forward to, Michael?
Amos, the guy replacing Lawrence White. You go back and watch games. Lawrence White was a pretty unsung hero for us, but he was really important and had some really big games. I'm hearing this Amos kid might be one of the best safeties we have in the team. So I think by week 3, we're like, holy crap, our safeties are absolutely loaded. With obviously Hasheem Young gets people excited. Greg Eisworth has just been extremely consistent, but I think this kid is as good as, or from what I'm hearing, is as good as those guys. And I think you're just going to watch this defense and you're like, where the heck is the weakness? Like, we just have so many studs, but I just think he's going to be really, really effective, especially with people putting all their attention on Will McDonald or Mike Rose.
Who I'm looking forward to seeing is obviously our weakling of the defense, if we're going to point at anything, is our best defense in the Big 12, obviously. But the second cornerback from Anthony Johnson. We haven't even said Anthony Johnson's name, by the way. That's how, like, Anthony Johnson probably might go down as the best cornerback in Iowa State history, and we don't talk about him. Just think about that. Like him and Ellis Hobbs.
Because no one throws to him.
Like, right. I've done the highlight, like 145 days of highlights. Anthony Johnson doesn't have any highlights because no one throws it to him because he locks him down. The only thing from last year was him talking crap to Tylan Wallace because Tylan Wallace couldn't handle being guarded by him, and they were jawing at each other. That's like the only highlights that Anthony Johnson had that I can even put. But back to that side of the ball that we need to improve. TJ Tampa, a kid who the later highlight of the C-Prom era would have been like the best basketball player highlights-wise by a mile. He comes to Iowa State as a cornerback, and I just want to see if he can bring it all together as fast as Will McDonald did at the end, but at cornerback, uses athleticism, might be the most athletic player on the team, and he's like 6'1", too, which is we're used to having cornerbacks that are like 5'9", who just get.
Shout out Jeremy Reeves.
Shout out Jeremy Reeves. He was a stud. That's not who I'm talking about, but just I just want that to be solid, not just a weak link. Not as like, oh, we're not gonna throw to Anthony Johnson the whole game. We can just throw this one, like the Texas game where Eagles they just tossed it up to Eagles a couple times a game, and I just don't want that. I want that to be slightly better. And I don't think we're going to see it in the UNI game because I think whoever that corner is will be better than whoever he's guarding anyways. But it'll be interesting.
UNI's not going to have time too.
Yeah, they got Will McDonald coming down their throat.
Yeah, I think they could have a lot of people come down their throat. I mean, the two that there's so many on the defensive side that I'm looking forward to. But this is an easy pick. But Mike Rose, man, he is so good. and so's Asheem. And I think Asheem got screwed out of so many plays last year that I want to see Asheem come out and just do one of those bowling ball hits that he does. It looks like the bowling ball in Raiders of the Lost Ark when he comes the thing at the beginning of the Raiders Lost Ark is mows over people. I just love watching him play. So both of those guys they're so fast and they have no regard for their bodies. They just throw themselves around. And, when I was younger, my older brother told me when you hit somebody, you can't go to them, you have to go through them. And Asheem Young goes through people, and so does Mike Rose. But Mike Rose had so many cool plays last year with his athleticism and diving for interceptions and, being able to cover people out of the backfield. So, yeah, I'm not going to sleep tonight if we keep talking about this because it's just a lot of fun to look forward to. Yeah.
Mike Rose wasn't a semifinalist for the Buckus Award last year.
Yeah.
Led the nation in interceptions.
And can we just stop talking about
but
this?
Also,
being disrespected all the time. Who cares?
For Asheem Young's best game last year, I think, was the Kansas game. There's a couple highlights where, you're just watching, all of a sudden, he's not even on. He doesn't start in frame. And he's the guy that makes a tackle, and he just absolutely murders the Kansas receivers. There's just the one fumble force he had in particular. The running back was on his way down. All of a sudden, Asheem Young just puts him in a coma.
But the thing about
so I think a lot of people can say my best highlight was against Kansas. I think a lot of people can say that.
But the thing about Asheem Young, Campbell talked about a lot of this in his press conference about creating your own energy. Imagine when he has energy from 62,000 people. That's
what I'm saying. I don't want to get thrown out on the first possession.
Right.
Yeah. That's a game. We need him for the Iowa game. That's the number one thing, top of the list for the United game. Win, obviously. Keep Asheem Young on the field for Iowa.
They've got to have spent this, and Asheem is not stupid. No. I mean, they have to have spent hours on film saying, do it this way. And does anybody know, did they change the rule? I mean, if they adjusted the penalty, or is it exactly the same as last year?
Exactly the same.
I think it's going to get more stricter and less than the other way around. That's how our society is right now. But
yeah, I don't know.
But that man, just him having 62,000 people behind him and having a hit and
having an off season with Coach Andrews.
Yeah,
they booed him out of the game. Look out,
especially the Iowa game. It might be pretty rough.
Good thing they're not selling beer in the stands in Ames because the field will be wet if they check him out of the game.
But that being said, we still got backups that can go in.
No, but I just still feel bad. I mean, as somebody that I'm old enough that Asheem could be my kid. I just felt so bad for him when that happened, and it kept happening.
They kept showing him on the sidelines.
Right. I said, stop showing the guy. I mean, he's a human being. Leave him alone.
But I think the funnest thing with Asheem is obviously he's talented, but he plays so hard.
Right. That's why I love
every single play. If he has an opportunity to be in the play, he is. He's not cocky. He's not John. I'm sure he might jog quietly. That's not obvious on the TV, but he just loves football and he just plays so hard. And I think it's fun to have someone as talented as him that plays like that. Because Mike Rose is the same way. And gosh, we'll be talking about these guys for 20 years.
Well, and Zach Peterson does too. I mean, Zach Peterson is one that just plays his butt off all the time he's out there on special teams and everything else. So, I don't know.
So is Will McDonald. Will McDonald's making tackles in the secondary.
Yeah. And Greg Eisworth has played through how many injuries? I mean, he's played with more pain than we probably will ever know.
This podcast could be 4 hours long. We could just talk about every player.
I got to work tomorrow.
Every player, just think of the Zach Petersons of the world, the Jake Hummels of the world. Those players would have been.
Jake Hummel, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stud.
So good.
This is his 5th year playing for a reason.
Yeah, and he started playing as a true freshman.
Yeah. So it's very special how the COVID year worked out. That's one player in the whole nation that the COVID year worked out for him because
he didn't redshirt.
Yeah, this year might push him into the NFL because he would have been a fringe, maybe get a signing after the draft type guy, but he might have a huge year and end up in the NFL. That's that guy, man, that dude, unsung hero too. That guy. So, what's your score prediction for Saturday, Michael?
42-7.
Oh boy, 42-7.
With Hunter Deckers has 2 touchdowns.
I'll just say mine. 49-3. They score a last second, like a bull crap field goal, like West Virginia did. We just absolutely murder them.
28-0. I think we shut them out, but I don't think. I think we're gonna keep it close to our vest. We're not gonna show everything because of what's coming up the following Saturday, unless we have to. I think. I tell you, the only thing I really could give 2 craps about what the score is. I just don't want a Quentin Bundridge day. I don't want that to happen. What do you think I'm going to jam? I'm telling people that I don't want Remsburg or any of that stuff to happen, because that's just a bummer when that happens, and I just don't want it to happen.
So that's going to be a bummer of a clip, and
it's a really great way to end it.
Why are you? I don't want it to happen. That you really think because I said this is going to happen? You guys are crazy.
We'll show this to Austin Hillbrands. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see his reaction.
I think it's toughen up.
I just want 49-3. Just absolutely murder them. Go into the Iowa game, and then hopefully Iowa. I don't know if we want Iowa to win by a lot or just barely win for getting game day. And
I think we want them to win by a lot.
That's going to be a tough game. Indiana's good.
Yeah. I think we want them to win by a lot because we don't want something that's going to give Kirk more reason to get their attention.
Like you said, Iowa State players getting hurt. I want no Iowa players to get hurt. I want them fully loaded, just like us.
Let's not talk about Iowa yet.
Go back.
Plenty of time. We got to play one game at a time, my friend.
I just hope Campbell doesn't get hurt.
Yeah. So,
and you know what? I'd take having a 50-yard field goal. How much fun would that be? Talk about a place that'll go crazy. Not a 50-yard field goal where it lands on the 10. A 50-yard field goal, we actually make it. That'd be awesome.
Let's just not kick field goals this year. Let's just be a team that scores touchdowns.
No, I mean, rather than punting, we'll kick field goals.
And make every extra point. Make every extra point.
Shout out to the Nebraska kicker.
Yeah, so good. Who's Nebraska playing this weekend?
Who cares?
I think they play Fordham, and we have their kicker. So,
hell yeah.
Why aren't we playing Nebraska this year? I really wish we were playing Nebraska this year.
Imagine last week was us playing Nebraska. That we have national attention and we just beat the living crap out of them. That would have been.
Did you see they had a big donor that bought up the rest of the season tickets for Saturday so they can continue their sellout? That's ridiculous.
So lame.
It should look like the UCLA stadium. That was.
Can you imagine trying to justify that purchase to your wife?
Did you see the UCLA stadium? The picture of it? There's 5,000 people in this stadium.
There's 15,000.
Whatever it was. It looked like Kansas. That's what I thought. I thought it was Kansas for a second until I saw the colors on the field. I mean, there was just so few people there, and then I saw people saying, well, there's traffic in LA and all this crap.
Also on ESPN Prime Time on week 0 where everyone's watching. That, how do they deserve that?
Yeah. So when these big boys say we have nothing to offer, just take one of the shots from a drone that we're going to see on Saturday of the parking lot, and there'll be another 20,000 people maybe still tailgating and not in the stadium.
It's going to be loud an hour before the game and until an hour after the game. It's going to be the energy is going to be special.
Yeah. Just need the weather to be special and everybody gets home safely. That's all we need.
Yeah, we'll hopefully we're come back and our predictions are exactly correct. Hopefully mine's correct, not your guys's. So I want to look better. But this is the first game preview podcast of Sound the Sirens, and
so we're going to be there with Sound the Sirens gear on. If you see us, give us a shout out. Got a couple Sound the Siren flags. They're going to be flying at tailgates. That's probably where one of us will be. Don't forget, the Hold the Chews are still available at chewworks.com. Use STC as Sound the Sirens As a promo code, get a free koozie. There, my dog loves them. If your dog drives you crazy at night, get one of these things that'll leave you alone and let you watch TV or do whatever you need to do. And also remember, there's a promo code on soundthesirens.com. UNI gets free shipping on any order right now. We're actually out of a couple sizes. We had a bunch of people order this week, so there's a new stock coming in. They're just not here yet. So these shirts that are the two color, just the gold and the red, are still coming. The gold and the cardinal are coming, but we still have plenty of the two color, the blacks, the hats, all of that stuff. The women's tanks, we've got two, and if you order one tomorrow, we will get it out tomorrow. So hopefully we'll have it by Saturday.
And this week for game week, it's free shipping for the promo code UNI.
Yeah. Right, free shipping
at Sound Sign.
Any order
at www.soundthesirens.com. All right, guys, let's
go Cyclones,
go
baby.
Cyclones.